friends, I'm Narendra Verma again before you as we are running the series on chapter 2 in business studies of class 12 CBSE board. So that is principles of management, and in earlier portion we learned the concept of principles of management, features of principles of management and significance of principles of management. In today's session we are going to cover all this: introduction to Henri, Fayol and F.W.Taylor, comparison between their contributions in the field of management, and 14 principles of management by Henri, Fayol. Let's talk about these two, Henri, Fayol and F.W.Taylor. See, there are so many management thinkers, so many scholars, so many practitioners related to management. They gave various theory, but these two became most popular among them. Okay, that is why only these two have been chosen to put in your syllabus, and thenceforth we are going to discuss about these. Right, so you can see the pictures of these on your screen. Now let's talk about both of them together. I just draw a line over here. This is for Henri, Fayol, and F.W.Taylor. His full name is Frederick Taylor. See, these both have really worked hard in their life. Okay, so this, however, it is not a part of syllabus, but as these have given principles and techniques which are the part of the syllabus, so we need to know about these, that how they have become so able to give such nice and prominent principles of management on which in the entire world management is being followed in present scenario. Right? Okay, let's talk about Henri Fayol first. Okay, Henri Fayol was a French, he belonged to France, but he was born in Istanbul. Istanbul is in Turkey. He was born in 1841, right? His father belonged to France, so he came back to France in 1847. Okay, and thereafter he got his education from there and he started working. Initially he started working in a coal mine company as a mining engineer. Later on, what happened? He was performing well in the organization, and then he was promoted to, or you can call, he was made director of the same company in 1888. But what happened? When he became director of this company, the company's condition was not so good. It was at the verge of getting closed. It has almost gone bankrupt. Okay, very worst condition was there of that company, and at that time he got 1,000 employees under him to handle. Now he started focusing how to handle them, how to focus on the mission and vision of the company, how to come out of this bankruptcy pit. Okay, so he observed, he used his personal experience, and he applied so many techniques after thinking a lot. All right, and then he kept on thinking, kept on doing a lot of things, and then he developed few understandings, and after thinking much, he developed few principles, few ideas related to management. Okay, and then he published one book. Okay, he published one book in the, I just write down the name of that book, Administration Industrielle et Generale, in 1916 in French. That's why the pronunciation is a bit unique, because that is in French. So that book became very much popular, and later on in 1949 the book was translated into English by the name of General and Industrial Management. Okay, so this book was translated into English in 1949 by the name General and Industrial Management. In this book he gave 14 principles of management, okay, which are there in your syllabus as well, and he also gave 5 functions of management, but these 5 functions are a bit different from the 5 functions that you have learned in your syllabus. Functions given by Henri Fayol were, I just write down here. Very first, planning, or you can call it forecasting. Second, organizing. Third, commanding. And then fourth, coordinating. And last is controlling. But in your syllabus, the 5 functions given by Henri Fayol are not there, because that were not so popular. Only 14 principles were very much popular. That's why these have been kept. But the 5 functions in your syllabus were given by some 2 gentlemen, Coates and O'Donnell. They gave 5 functions of management that you have learned so far, right? So it was a kind of information part only. Now let's talk about. So he focused how to interact with the employees, how to behave properly with the staff, so that they become motivated, so that the organization can run in a smooth manner, so that all the objectives of the organizations are achieved, etc. That was all about his theory. Okay, and he is known as father of general management. Okay, that is a big achievement from his part, right? So it was all about Henri Fayol. Now let's talk about, later on we'll talk about their contribution to you can say the difference between their contribution in the field of management, but right now we are just talking about their introduction. Okay, now let's talk about F.W.Taylor. He was an American. He was born in 1856 at Pennsylvania, that is in US, right? In 1878 he was studying a lot. He was an engineer by profession actually, and he did a lot of studies, a lot of researches. Okay, and thereafter his life changed somehow. When you get into the detail of his biography, then you'll come to know. I'm not getting into much detail, but somehow the track changed. Okay, then he came in the field of business. However, he never thought that. Then in 1878 he joined a steel company as machine laborer. You can imagine, machine laborer. Okay, he was there at the lowest post in the organization, and just because of his knowledge, experience, and his creativity, his way of thinking, he kept on being promoted. Okay, later on he became time clerk, then again one more position, and research director, and at last he became chief engineer in a company, in a steel company. Again, he worked in many companies. Okay, and at last when he was working in the company, that was by the name of Bethlehem Steel Corporation. Okay, so he worked there. Now during his journey, when he became engineer, or before becoming engineer, he kept on focusing on one thing, that how to increase productivity. Okay, because he was there in the production house. Okay, he was noticing everything. He was noticing the behavior of the workers. He knew the problems of the workers, and he knew the limitations of the managers. He knew everything. Then he focused on something unique, which has never been done, which has never been applied, never been conducted, because he was there from science field. So he tried to apply his science knowledge into management. Okay, and thereafter he came with another invention that was known as scientific management. It was a very new term for the entire world, that they came to know there is something like scientific management as well. And what is scientific management? Scientific management means, just to solve a problem, you need not follow the traditional method that is known as rule of thumb. You need to analyze, and after analysis you'll have to search the best solution for that, and when you reach over that solution, then apply that. Science says that. Okay, so he worked on scientific management, and that is why he is known as father of scientific management in present scenario. Yes, one more thing about Frederick Taylor, what he gave, like Henri Fayol gave 14 principles of management, he gave 4 principles of management, and he gave various scientific techniques for the successful application of these 4 principles. And let me tell you one more thing, how he started, how he came out with flying colors. Okay, he published one research paper by the name of shock management in 1903. Okay, and then it became very much popular. Then he published his book by the name of the Principles of Scientific Management in 1911. Okay, and he became very much popular and he is known as father of scientific management. Okay, so it was all about him. Now let's move on their contribution and difference between their contribution. Okay, let me tell you important thing about this portion. This portion is given in your book at last. Whatever book you have purchased, whether it is NCERT or any other book, but you will find this portion at last. But I am tackling this portion in the beginning itself. Because when you have known these two, you have known their ideas, their thoughts, then you must know what is the difference between their contribution, right? So we are going to have the difference, or you better call them comparison between their contribution. Okay, at what point they were different. So we'll be using, say, a few bases. On that basis, we'll be comparing. So now I have plotted here the basis of difference. This is the basis, and this is Henri Fayol's point of view, and that is F.W.Taylor's point of view. 7 bases are there: perspective, unity of command, that is important, that's why I put a star over here, applicability, basis of information, focus, personality, and expression. Very first, let's talk about perspective. Henri Fayol was there at the top level management position, so he felt need to think according. Okay, he, as a top level management, his way of thinking was there. So whatever principles, theories, okay, whatever he has given on the basis of his personal experience. Okay, so he just kept one point of view, that is top level management. Okay, so his perspective was top level management, and he was there at the lowest level, so he started thinking according to that. Okay, so his perspective was there as lower level management. Understood? We learned that there are 3 levels of management: top, middle, and lower. So in top and middle you can apply Henri Fayol's principle, but in lower you will find, if you are in production house, you will find that F.W.Taylor's principles are more relevant. Okay, and his scientific techniques especially. Now let's talk about unity of command. Why I have put a star over here? Because this is one of the 14 principles of the Henri Fayol as well. Okay, and F.W.Taylor opposes that. Fine, he feels that unity of command is must. What is unity of command? In a couple of minutes we'll come to know, but even then I tell you, unity of command means that all the subordinates should get orders from one superior. There should not be more than one superior. Okay, but what happens? F.W.Taylor has given one scientific technique, that is functional foremanship, and under that he says that one worker should receive command from 8 specialists. So that is what the contradiction over here. Okay, so if the question comes in exam that on what point, on what concept they had contradiction, so that was the point. Okay, unity of command. So he follows that and doesn't follow. All right, I told you the reason behind it. Now let's talk about applicability. See, because Henri Fayol was there at top level, and at top level whatever the policies and planning are done, that is done to keep overall objective of the organization, thinking about everything. Okay, so his principles can be applied universally, overall, in all situations. Fine, but his principles can be applied only in specialized situations. Means if you are dealing in the production house, only then you will be reading, otherwise you can't use that. Okay, now let's talk about another point, that is basis of formation. So like I told you, he was not a scientist. Okay, he was just a practitioner. That is why his principles have developed due to his personal experience. Because when he joined the company was there in worst position, and when he retired from the company was one of the leading groups in the field of iron and steel. So that was just because of his personal experience. And if we talk about F.W. Taylor, so that was on the basis of observations and experimentation. Like I told you that he was from science field, so he did a lot of research work. He applied all his research into management as well. Fine. So he did a lot of observation and experimentation. Now focus. So his focus was improving overall performance. Fine. So his focus was there to improve overall performance of the company. Fine, because he was there at the top level. At top level, they plan, you can say, including everything. Fine. And if we talk about focus of F.W.Taylor, so it was there only on increasing production, or you can say, fine. Now personality. So as per the personality, he was a practitioner and he was a scientist. Okay, if you want to see expression, so he gave the theory of general management or administration, you call it, and he gave the theory of scientific management. All right, so if the question comes, what is the difference between the thoughts and ideas of Henri Fayol and F.W.Taylor, then you can mention these bases. Otherwise the question comes, then on what point their thoughts were contradicting, so you can mention unity of command. Fine. And if we talk about their personality, perspective, so it is all about that. Now let's move on to another portion of this session, that is 14 principles of management by Henri Fayol.